We gather on the eve of the day marking the revolution that founded our country. U.S. communists take enormous pride in this great struggle that at once severed our colonial dependence on Britain and radically transformed the life of our country. Notwithstanding conventional wisdom, Marxism doesn't cast a scornful eye on its democratic heritage, nor from its those at earlier achievements of humankind. Marx assiduously studied and drew insight from the works of Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and other classical economists in writing his opus Das Kapital. Lenin expressed pride in the bourgeois democratic revolutionaries in mid-19th century Russia, and characterized our revolution as one of those great, really liberatory, really revolutionary wars of which there have been so few compared to the vast numbers of wars of conquest. And our own party has always embraced the best of our country's history and traditions. It was Comrade Hall who popularized the expression Bill of Rights and Socialism, and Comrade Winston who drew on the political genius of Frederick Douglass to write his marvelous book, Strategy for a Black Agenda. Revolutions are never complete. Just as socialist revolutions bear the birthmarks of capitalism, bourgeois democratic revolutions likewise have their own birthmarks and leave unfinished democratic tasks for future generations to address. In the case of the revolution that engulfed the 13 fragile colonies, it too had its limitations. The abominable institution of slavery remained. Political rights were limited to white male property owners. The new nation was formed on lands unlawfully and violently expropriated from Native American peoples. And the revolution unfolded in a nascent bourgeois society which over time widened many of the inequalities that were embedded in colonial life. Nonetheless, the American Revolution enlarged the boundaries of freedom and constitute a landmark in our human history. For the first time, sovereignty and consent rested not with her king, not with an aristocratic order, not with the church, but with the people. Freedom was proclaimed a universal right of humankind, and many old modes of deference and hierarchy melted away. 1776 set the stage for the Second American Revolution in 1865, and subsequent struggles to make freedom the inalienable right of every person, regardless of race, national origin, religion, gender, class status, or sexual orientation. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the greatest mass leader in our land of the 20th century, was well aware of the limitations of our revolution. Yet, he didn't distance himself from it. Rather, he heralded its achievements and ideals and challenged our nation to live up to them. Standing in front of the Washington Monument in 1963, King, in his beautiful oratory, reminded Americans in the words of the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. On a smaller stage stood a now deceased and sorely missed African-American comrade, Lee King, who migrated with tens of thousands of other black people from the South in the early 1940s to Detroit, and found his way into the auto industry and the Communist Party. For the next 5 decades, Lee threw himself into the struggles of his people and his class. And when the auto companies began to lay off workers by the tens of thousands in the early 1980s, I remember him invoking on more than one occasion the same phrase from the Declaration of Independence, and always quickly adding, "But how can a person be happy when they don't have a job?" We should learn from the examples of Dr. King and Comrade Lee. Our desire to grow into a mass party and into a leading force for social progress and socialism will only happen